both visible as well as audible. Yeah. Thank you. Sri Basavaraj, Purna, and both visible as well as audible. The guests, yeah. Thank you. Have kindly come today. Sri Basavaraj, my friends, Purna, and it is a great honor for me both be here, visible as well as audible. The guests about a few things. Yeah. Thank you. Have kindly come today. Writing for some time. Sri Basavaraj, my friends, Purna. In fact, at the outset, I must say, it is a great honor for me that both be here, visible as well as audible. The guests about a few things. Yeah. Thank you. Have kindly come today. Writing for some time. Sri Basavaraj, my friends, that I have to say and I am going to say Purna is already known. In fact, at the outset, I must say, only thing that it is a great honor for me that I am going to both be here, visible as well as audible. The guests about a few things. Yeah. Thank you. Have kindly come today. Writing for some time. Sri Basavaraj, so that those of you who have been following the developments in the country for the last 8 both visible as well as audible. Yeah. Thank you. Sri Basavaraj, Purna, and the guests who have kindly come today, and my friends. It is a great honor for me to be here to talk about a few things that I have been writing for some time now. In fact, at the outset, I must say that I am not going to say anything that is already not known to you. Everything probably that I have to say and I am going to say is already known to you. The only thing that I am going to add is that I will try and bring them together so that those of you who have been following the developments in the country for the last 8 to 10 years will be able to see a very clear pattern of the things that have been happening. That is the only value, that is the only additional thing that I am going to bring to the table today. When we discussed about the title, we have agreed on illusion as reality. Today we are at a very interesting stage in our national life. Very challenging also. It's very difficult for us to see what is reality and what is illusion. I'll give you one small example. We have had G20 summit here in India recently. And G20 has been in existence for quite some time, quite a few years. We have not heard so much about G20 before, but recently we have seen hoardings and posters about G20 everywhere. Petrol stations, highways, junctions, roads, villages, cities, throughout the country, airports, everywhere. That is the basis for the creation of an illusion. The illusion is this, that if you look at the kind of publicity and propaganda that has been mounted in this country about G20, I will tell you what was the impression that I had. Compare my impression when I narrate that impression with the kind of impression that you had, and see, whether we are on the same page. The impression that I had when I saw the kind of publicity blitzkrieg was that the entire world, the major countries of the entire world, be it United States, be it Russia, China, France, United Kingdom, Japan, the entire organization of African states, South American states, everybody, they were absolutely clueless about what is to be done in the world. They had no idea. They're completely lost. They're groping for a solution, a path to go forward. And what did they do? They came to India, prostrated, and said, please show us the path. Then India, because it's the Vishwaguru, said, don't worry, we are going to lead you. And the entire world descended on India, learned a few things, and went back. That is the impression that I have. I don't know about you. But the reality was that a few months ago it was Indonesia, yesterday it was India, and today it is Brazil, which was presiding over a meeting of the G20 nations. None of them, for the last so many years during which G20 was in existence, no country, no leader really made such a huge song and dance about hosting a G20. But the illusion that I had, I just shared with you. That was the kind of illusion that, we were presented with. And there was another illusion. That was the slogan for G20. Most of you remember the slogan for G20. Can somebody just say? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That was projected as the creed of India. That was projected as a value for which India stands. If you look at it, what did it say and where is this from? If you check, it is from an Upanishad called Mahopanishad, which is one of the minor Upanishads. It is not Ishopanishad, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Munda, Mandukya, Taittari, Aitareya, Chandogyam, Brihadaranyakam, none of these. Adi Shankara has not even touched this. Probably it was much later than Adi Shankara. We do not know. Pandits will tell us. But what does it say? What did it say? It said it is one small part of it was taken to project, to create an illusion that we, and particularly the government and the leadership of today's India, stands for this kind of a value. What is the value that they projected? What is the value and what is the illusion they projected out of that? Was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire earth is one family. But what does the Upanishad say? The Upanishad says that Ayam Nijaha Paro Vetti Ganana Laghuchetasa Udara Charitanantu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It is a mere description of two types of mind. Laghuchetasam, Udara Charita. Laghuchetasam is, Basavasa, is a narrow mind. Laghu, small mind. Udara Charitanam is the broad mind. The Mahopanishad sloka simply said that for those with narrow mind, they reckon some as theirs, Nijaha, Paraha, some as others. But for those with broad mind, the entire earth is one family. It is merely an attempt to define what is a broad mind and what is a narrow mind. It is not an assertion of anybody's creed. If at all you want to appropriate that as a value, as an assertion of a value, then it is such a contradiction, because on the one hand you say that he is not mine, she is mine, they are not mine, that religion is not mine, this caste is not mine, that region is not mine, this language is not mine, that religion is not mine, that state is not mine, these people are not mine, only those people are mine, only those people who eat this are mine, those people who eat that are not mine. When you, in your vyavahar, in your conduct, in your behavior, in your policy, in your creed, when you differentiate between Nijaha and Paraha, which means that you are Laghuchetasa, you are not Udara Charita. But having that as a reality, but this is the attempt to create a huge illusion that this government and what they represent, what they stand for, is a huge liberal value of entire world, entire earth is one family, which is the illusion. I'll come to the reality that we know and the illusion that the government wants to project as far as the economy is concerned. Let me tell you, because I deal with these numbers and I deal with, but I don't want to bore you with too much of data and too much of statistics, but broadly, I'll give you what is happening in the economy. What is it that we hear from the government, which I term as illusion, and after I describe, kindly compare notes with what you have in mind or what you have studied, what you have observed, and then see what is reality and what is illusion. I'll place a very limited few facts before you. One is today India has one of the highest youth unemployment in the world. Our youth unemployment is 24%. We are in the company of Iran, Lebanon, Syria. This is the August company that we are keeping. And one of our neighbors, Bangladesh, their youth unemployment rate is 12%, almost half of our youth unemployment. And our rate of inflation is even a compliant, very subordinate kind of a Reserve Bank also says that it is much above the tolerable limit. Much above the acceptable limit. How much it is, I'll come to it. This is the second one. The third one is, sir, our domestic savings is at an all-time low of 5%. And our domestic capital investment is also at a very low level, falling from about 31% about 10 to 12 years ago to about 19% today, which goes to show that the domestic trade and industry, especially the investors, in spite of whatever they say publicly, do not have much confidence in our economy and its prospects. Otherwise, they will not withhold investment. If they had confidence in the investment climate of the country, if they had confidence in the prospects of the Indian economy, they would have really invested. It would not have fallen from 31% to 19%. And the number of people who have been relinquishing the Indian citizenship year after year has been going up for the last 8 to 9 or even 10 years continuously. I don't want to bore you with the data, but just to give you a taste of it, I'll read out a couple of data points for you. In 14, the number of people, and most of them are what is called HNI, that is high net worth individuals. The number of HNIs and the general people who have relinquished their citizenship in 2014 was 1,29,000. In 18 it was 1,34,000. I'm skipping some years, but you know it's continuous. It's a secular trend. In 21 it was 1,63,000. 22 is 2,22,25,000. So it's continuously. People are fleeing the country. Capital is going away from the country. Domestic investment is falling. Savings are falling. This is the reality. But what is the projection? The projection is that India is the fastest growing economy. India is now the 5th largest economy. India will be 3rd in when? somebody says 30, third term, fourth term, etc. etc. But anyway, there's a confusion about that. But it probably the government is either under illusion or it wants us to be under illusion that India is going to be number one or number two in foreseeable future. That's the kind of. But with so much of youth unemployment, with so much of fall in the labor participation ratio, with so much of a fall, especially of a labor participation ratio of females in India, with so much of a contraction in the domestic savings, and so much of capital flight, and so much of HNS relinquishing the citizenship and going, how is this possible? We do not know. But that is the illusion that we are presented with. This is the contrast between the kind of reality really that we face with price rise of unemployment. I'll give you one interesting practical, not interesting, I'm sorry, I withdraw that. One serious example. I don't know how many of you remember that in 2022 beginning, January, February, there was a news item that there was a lot of unrest in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh because a lot of young people were trying to travel, getting into the trains, pushing each other, and there was a lot of unrest. The reason is this, that they were all going to write an exam, a competitive examination for some positions announced by the Indian Railways. These positions were called NTPC jobs, non-technical professional or preferred categories. Non-technical preferred categories. It's a kind of a nice euphemistic way of saying they are non-technical, which means they are manual jobs. So we also have a nice way of euphemistically calling something which is very normal, menial, manual job as non-technical preferred category. The number of jobs that were announced, advertised, were 35,000. The number of applicants were 1 crore 25 lakhs. This is the reality. The illusion is fifth largest economy, third largest economy to be, and second largest economy soon to be. This is the illusion. But very severe unemployment, youth unemployment, severe contraction of domestic savings, lot of flight of capital, flight of individuals relinquishing the citizenship and going away, fall in domestic investment. This is the reality. And of course, I do not want to go into the kind of write-offs and the debt and increase in debt and all that. You know all of that. The reason why I'm pointing this out is, as I said, you know all of them. All these points you have read somewhere or the other. But I'm only trying to juxtapose them, bring them together so that you will see a pattern. What is happening is, in this country today, in New India, is that we are agitated about something for a day or two. After that, it's completely forgotten. They're just washed out and something else is coming up. It could be a tourism spot, it could be a temple, it could be something else, it could be something else, it could be something else. But the hard, harsh reality is being washed away. I'll give you 2 or 3 examples. One is, do you remember that we had a huge kind of turmoil in the country. People who thought, look, what is happening to the Indian rupee? Why is it reaching 80 rupees? We were agitated about it. Were we not? For a couple of days. What is the rate of exchange between rupee and dollar today? 83. We are okay with it, aren't we? We are not bothered anymore. It's okay. All right. And when fuel prices were touching 100 rupees, we were worried. For how long? Today what is it? I don't know in Bangalore how much they sell it for. 102. And it's been 102. But we are not bothered about much. When people, hundreds and thousands of people were walking from here to Bihar during the pandemic, we were all, we all felt very bad about it. We came out and we gave them water, we gave them biscuits, and we set up some things and we took photographs and all that. That's over. But we're not bothered about it after that. We were so agitated when hundreds of dead bodies have floated. Where? Ganga, the holiest of our rivers. No, we forgot. It's okay. All right. Jatasya maranam dhruvam, all right. But it's all right now. So there is because of this illusion, the consequence is that there is a huge amount of national numbing. What do you call in Kannada for numbing? You touch it, you don't feel it. Jom. For us it's called timidi in Telugu. Yeah. You don't feel it. So go on. Now, so what's? And we are waiting for another thing to happen. Another thing to happen to forget it. So we are tuned to turn away from reality to illusion very well. And if you are making an attempt to slowly turn back to reality, then one more illusion would come. Maldives will come. Maldives versus Lakshadweep. Then, okay. Then, somebody would even advertise, and such a business is nothing for me. Nation is first. So, I'm cancelling my Maldives trip. People have cancelled Maldives trips in such a patriotic act they have done. Basavaraj sir had told you about my father going to jail during Quit India. He was in Ballari jail. What surprises me when I start thinking about illusion in reality is that platforms, organizations who have had absolutely no role in the long freedom movement of this country are today able to market themselves as patriots. And I heard so many people say, see, they may be doing all this, but they are patriots. How are they patriots? But you don't participate in the freedom movement of this country, but you are a patriot. They are able to do that. We are tuned to listen to that. That is the kind of illusion and the reality. I have 2 or 3 minutes more. course, we can talk, we can also have some kind of discussion. Because you see, I believe in a dialogue, not just man ki baat. Let me give you one more reality and illusion, and I'll shut up after that. We are a democracy, a parliamentary democracy. And sorry to say, that is an illusion today. Because to me, somebody like me, or somebody like you, for many people, democracy is not just going to the polling station once in 5 years and pressing a button. That's not democracy. Democracy is a form of government where you talk, where you listen, where there is a dialogue, where there is a discussion, where there is disagreement, where there is a dissent. You know, people tend to say, why do you disagree? Please come and talk to us. Let us see, we can reach some kind of a consensus, some kind of an agreement. Isn't that democracy? It's not? It is. I mean, to me it is. And you're perfectly, you can disagree with it. But I will tell you the illusion, why this is an illusion today. The reality is what? I'll tell you an instance where our economy and polity intersect. Our economy and polity intersect in a case which is an extraordinary case to me. Because if you look at agriculture in India, agriculture is by far a sector which impacts directly or indirectly, both directly and indirectly, not just either or, but both directly and indirectly, the largest segment of our population. Geographically also, because geographically also this is the largest area which is impacted by agriculture. Now, the government thought that this sector needs to be reformed. Whether the reforms are good or bad, what was proposed was good or bad is a debatable thing. There are people who say that is very good, there are people who say that is not good. I mean, that's a different thing. We can go into the merits or demerits of these things later in a different session. But the point I'm making here is, such a huge sector which impacts the largest number of people in this country, there was a measure to reform that sector, to change that sector, how that sector is governed, how that sector proceeds, and how that sector earns and produces and distributes, how that sector gives livelihoods, etc., etc. So many things. 3 laws were enacted in Parliament for such a huge, potentially impactful decision to enact 3 laws. There was hardly 5 minutes of discussion in our Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. That's one. So then, some people were against those. They disagreed with me. Therefore, they agitated. And when they were agitating, they were called anti-nationals. They were called Khalistanis. They were called agents of foreign governments and foreign forces. They were called Tukde gang. They were called people who were out to destroy India. Well, that means that the government was very much committed to it. Come what may, they disregarded Parliament also to do this. So which means that they were very committed to those reforms. Then what happens? Come Punjab elections, the Honorable Prime Minister goes out to television to say that they will withdraw his loss. Then what happens? Parliament was convened. These 3 laws were withdrawn, not even 5 minutes of discussion. So when you enact them, there was no discussion. When some people opposed it, they said they are anti-nationals. The government itself withdraws them without discussion. That is the reality. But the illusion is that we are a democratic country. And we did not stop there. People said, look, you can't do this. At least talk to them. Reason out. Even till today, we have no clue of why the government wanted to bring in those acts and why it wanted to withdraw. I have no clue. I've not seen anywhere. I have no clue. I don't know if you have any clue for that. There is absolutely, it's not unavailable. This is democracy. Recently, nearly 140, how many? 143. You remember the 146. Who is right? Okay, I'll take him. 143. 143 elected members of parliament were suspended, and you pass things. Democracy. I remember when your state was going for elections, I used to closely follow, because mine is a neighboring state. The Prime Minister did many public meetings, rallies, and road shows. And in one of the public meetings he said, in Karnataka I remember very well, that in one of the public meetings the Prime Minister had said, the opposition had abused me 99 times, not 100, not 98, precise. 99 times the opposition had abused me. Somebody asked in the parliament, how many migrant labor died? We don't know. How many people are unemployed? No idea. How many people died because of lack of oxygen? No clue at all. But somebody is there, keeping a count, 1, 2, 3, 99. By the time the Prime Minister came to Karnataka and delivered the speech, somebody said, sir, till now it's 99. But no data about unemployment, no data about, what's happening in the economy, no data about pandemic, no data about that, no data about anything today. We have wonderful schemes, but no data about that also. If you see the declarations and speeches and the kind of illusion that they create and the reality, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. 80% of the funds allocated for Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao was spent on publicity for petrol stations, highways, hoardings. Then you have Stand Up India, Make in India, Skill India, Khelo India. That is the illusion. What is the reality? Shut Up India is the reality. Because there is no room for people to talk, people to question, people to dissent. We are here talking. Jagrata Karnataka has organized this. You know, if I were a Swamiji, who are much in demand these days, my blessing to you would be, please continue to have this for as long as you can. We do not know when this is going to stop. No, I'm not exaggerating, because there were places where even these kind of meetings were no longer possible. It's no more possible. Please don't think, I'll tell you what. We also got into this mode that it's happening somewhere, it's not going to happen here. Manipur, very far. You see, when a photograph came, everybody was very agitated, forgot about that. Manipur has not stopped burning, it is still burning. How many days, sir? You really know the numbers. More than 100 days, 200 days. 200 days it's burning, and our people have time to go to any place, the leadership, it doesn't go there. So that is the kind of a situation that we are in. We have an illusory democracy, but reality is that we are completely controlled, completely silenced, with no room for expression, dissent. And there is also manipulation of data. I'll tell you what is the reality and what is the illusion. Some time ago, a 4-lane road, because you have a lot of highways, a 4-lane road of 1 kilometer used to be a 1 kilometer of 4-lane road. Pune. You know today what it is? 4 kilometers. So therefore, you can say very confidently that what India has not done for so many decades, we have done it in. Because you see, anything is 4 times, isn't it? Anything is 4 times, anything is 6 times, anything is 10 times. It's easy, you can just say. And people who diligently collect data, analyze the data, and present data. For example, Dr. James of that International Institute of Population Studies. The government is saying that it's 100% open defecation free, and his data commissioned by the government said 19 to 20% still is yet to be covered, and is sad. We don't want to hear anything which is uncomfortable, which is going to be contradictory to the government narrative or government's illusion, or government's attempt to create an illusion. Reality is now not allowed to contradict the illusion. You can have an illusion coming out of a reality. Let me also show off my philosophical knowledge. Adi Shankara said, there's a rope and you have this illusion of being a snake. Sarparajju, Brahma, Mithya. But there is a basis for it, isn't it? There is a rope. You might mistake that for a serpent. Here there is no rope, but you have a serpent. Or probably, here there is nothing. The greatness of this narrative is this. Even without any basis, you can fool people by uttering high-sounding Another one is Amrit Kal. Atmanirbhar Bharat. Sounds very well. And there is a wonderful attempt. There are television people here. Mr. Rudrappa is around. Okay. Now they will tell you. You can find out. You can find out how much do they charge a national television channel? How much do they charge for 1 hour of live television? 2 hours, 3 hours, a full day. Now you spend about 5,000 crores to build a temple and 2 months of continuous coverage of that, which means that the whole thing amounts to about 30, 40, 50,000 crores is spent on that to create an illusion that look, we have done something great. That is the kind of illusion that was created from what? From nothing. From so much of unemployment, so much of poverty, so much of contraction in savings, so much of fall of incomes. There's one more thing I must tell you. There used to be 125 billionaires in our country. Now, do you know how many there are? 147. See, so much of progress. And there are 147 billionaires, and we feel proud. I'm not a billionaire, you're not a billionaire, but both of us are made to feel very proud of some billionaire there. Isn't it? Look, my country has 147 billionaires. How many do you have? You don't have many. But my country has. See how proud I am. Which means that I bought into this illusion. I bought into this narrative. I bought into this game. Then you say that look, there's no. Somebody said, who's that? Somebody said in World Hunger Index, India is very low. What, 125? 142. No, we don't have hunger. I don't want to name the minister. There's a minister in the Union government. That minister said on a television show, they don't know, we don't have hunger. And their methodology is so faulty methodology. I'll tell you why it is a faulty. I'm just quoting him. I'm summarizing that minister. That minister had said, I left home today at 4:30 in the morning because I had to rush to the airport. I caught the first flight and went to Trivandrum, addressed a meeting there, came to Bombay, addressed another meeting there, went to Bangalore, addressed another meeting there. I didn't have time to even eat a small sandwich. And when I was rushing from one meeting to the other meeting, when I was rushing from one meeting to the airport, my phone rang and I took the phone and said hello. And the other side, somebody asked me, are you hungry? I said, I'm hungry. And phone is disconnected. He said, look, people are hungry in India. That kind of a trivialization of rankings, world rankings. But when our Prime Minister is the most popular Prime Minister in the entire world, methodology is not questioned. That is the reality and the illusion. Now here, coming back to hunger, they say that nobody is hungry in India, but these World Hunger Index people, they want to defame India. They're anti-India. They are, supplied information by people who are Tugde gang and all that kind of a thing. The entire West is out to defame India, therefore they are doing this. But in the same breath, this government announces free ration for 83 crore people for the next 5 years. Why? If everybody is not hungry, nobody is hungry, why are you giving 82, 83 or 85 crore people free food grains for 5 years at a stretch? Not that, okay, we'll give for 1 year and see what happens next year. But they know that, they are going to be hungry not only today, tomorrow, but for the next 5 years. They know that is the reality. But illusion is nobody is Shrestha Bharat. That is the illusion. We can go on with this, but I think let's stop. I'll shut up now. Let's go. Thank you. Both visible as well as audible. Thank you. Sri Basavaraj, Purna, and the guests who have kindly come today, and my friends. It is a great honor for me.
Sir, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. It was a very sharp address and thank you once again for it. Before I start with my questions, I promise I have no more than 3-4 questions. ಬೇಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. It was a very sharp address and thank you once again for it. Before I start with my questions, I promise I have no more than 3-4 questions. ಬೇಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ನಾವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. 3 ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಬೇಕು, ಯಾಕೆ ಓದಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನನಗೂ ಬಂತು. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವಂಡರಿಂಗ್ ವೆನ್ I started reading the book, why this book is important, because there are many themes that have already been written about, spoken about in great depth. 2 ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಗಿಂತ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಓದಬೇಕು ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತು. Firstly, as I was listening to Prabhakar sir, I remembered, that we've forgotten so many things that have happened, even something as early as 10 months ago. Manipur Baghe we have forgotten, COVID we have forgotten. So it's also, resistance is also in building collective memory. ಏನು ನಡೆದಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಮರೆತು ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗೋದಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದಿನ ಏನು ಹೋರಾಟಗಳಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಇದರ ಬಲದ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ I see this book as one such attempt to keep our collective memories alive, and this documentation is very important for that resistance. And secondly, in Puska, what it does is it lays bare India's, compromised state when it comes to its data integrity. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಆಳವಾಗಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ನಾನು ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನನಗೆ ಅದು ಹೊಸದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಐ ಸಿ ದಿಸ್ ಬುಕ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮೋಷನ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಾಳಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ದೇಶ ಹಾಳಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಮಾತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಇಮೋಷನ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ, ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ brings very very firm numbers, which also Sanjay Babu sir says in the introduction of the book. So I just had a few questions, sir. I'm going to alternate between Kannada and English just to keep our audience with us. I'm not a big fan of numbers, so none of my questions are on the question of numbers. But ಎರಡು chapters ಅಲ್ಲಿ sir speaks about bonsai universities. That is public universities versus private universities. ಏನು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. He speaks about how in today's India, universities are expected to be tidy and very obedient. Students need to come there only to study, don't be political. And he speaks about his own time in JNU and the kind of resistance movements that JNU fostered when he was there. But today, if you contrast it to our public universities and also our private universities, universities. Private universities are buckling down to government pressure, and the profile of public universities has also changed, where they've captured the academia, they've captured administrative positions, etc. So, even Sandarbhadalli, I want to ask Sir how he sees this transformation of universities like JNU, and what is the future of higher education in India, especially at a time like this when decade-long struggles against gender, caste, class inequality that have been fought in these very universities, they are being undone. What happens to the youth? What happens to higher education in India?
You finish the three questions, yeah.
Oh, all three questions. Okay. The other thing that I found very interesting is there's a chapter called Ducks and Rabbits, which also speaks about the illusion that his address was elaborating on. ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಈ ರಾಮ ಮಂದಿರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ I felt this is in many of our minds and hearts, which is one illusion is the duck, which presents the diversity of India, which presents a plural India, etc. And the rabbit is the real face of whatever we are moving towards, and there I say that what we are moving towards is a Hindu Rashtra. So I want to ask Sir to tell us, how do we see this differentiation or this relationship between Hinduism, Hindutva? Is it a difference? Is it the same thing, etc.? And how do we fight this majoritarian idea without attacking people's personal beliefs, which actually hold a meaning in their everyday lives? Because that is the problem we are currently facing at a time like this. And in this context, what do you see as the future or the path ahead for progressive movements in India in this current context? And the last one is a question that I had with respect to minorities. Your book also speaks about the hijab controversy, and that is the first chapter I went to, because ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಕೂತಿರೋರು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. We've seen the suffering of those girls, and like Sir said, there are no numbers on how many dropouts, there are no numbers on how many girls were thrown out of school because of that, how many people have written exams, ಏನು data ಇಲ್ಲ. But all of this ties up to this larger intention to erase any kind of Muslimness, erase any kind of minority identity in public, be it representation of minority groups, access to education, livelihood, etc. So, ಈ report now, I have given him a fact-finding report that PUCL did on the hijab issue in Karnataka. Even when we were writing that report, we had only the Sacha committee to go back to see what is the status of minorities in India. So I was wondering what results will we see if a similar exercise were to be conducted today to examine the status of minorities in India. And this is specifically asking also to get your inputs on where do we begin and how do we begin to kind of gauge the long-term damages that all of what is happening today, where do we begin to make sense of that long-term damage? So these are my three questions.
The questions were very comprehensive actually. Each of them needs a lot of time to finish. Each of them merits a separate session. But anyway, I'll try and see what is the best way to briefly address them. I won't go in the order that Purna has posed the questions. I will first give you a general idea about rabbit and duck and what to do with the majoritarian juggernaut that is ruling today, and then also touch upon the universities and of course the minorities and other things. Let me take a couple of minutes and then narrate a real incident I will change a name or two. Names are not real names, but the incident is a real incident, I swear. I am not talking up anything. You know, one day, I hired a taxi. We have Uber and Ola in Hyderabad. I don't know what you have here. Maybe you have Uber and you have something else. And normally my practice is that when I sit in the cab, I try to strike a conversation with the driver. Just to know what is where does he come from, is he married, etc. Just to, put him at ease. I asked him, he said, he was a young boy, not even probably 30. He said he was unmarried. He came from Rayalaseema. His name was Vikrant, Vishal or something. One of the. Then I kept quiet. I started looking at my mails and messages and other things. That is the reason why I hired. Otherwise I could drive. But because this boy comes from Rayalaseema and is new to Hyderabad, he relied on, now everybody is relying on Google Maps to go anywhere. And Google Maps, in the name of taking you in the shortest route possible, in the shortest time possible, they take you in little small, lanes and by lanes. So I was working on something, sitting in the rear seat, and I noticed, I felt that the car was going very slow. And when I looked up, I saw it was going in a very narrow lane. And the boy, Basraj sir, he turned back to me and said, "Sir, look at these Muslim fellows. They're walking on the road. They're not allowing the car to go." This is a young boy coming from a small village in Rayalaseema. He is not a member of any of these cultural organizations. But he said this. And I know, as far as my knowledge of Rayalaseema area goes, he comes from an area where there is no Muslim presence or communal tension, nothing, normal village. But he said this. Why did he say this? Where did he pick this up from? For somebody like you and me, if there is a narrow street, whether it is a Hindu or a Muslim or a Parsi or a Christian or a Jew or no religion, anybody would have walked like that only on the road. Where do you? Actually, in India, people don't walk on the footpaths. They do something else on the footpath. But here is a very narrow road, very narrow street. People are walking.
There was no footpath.
There is no footpath also, and people have to walk on the road if they want. They have to come on and go here anyway. But this boy says, look, those people they don't have. That is the level to which communalism has spread. The poison has gone that deep. I want you to keep this in mind. Therefore, people who have been observing the Indian political scene for a few years will recall that everybody, including the present day ruling party, their leaders used to say, we are also a secular party. We are secular but not like them. They are pseudo-secular. We are genuinely secular. Today, nobody says that they are secular even. Why genuine or pseudo? Forget about this. Nobody says that they are secular. Everybody says that, we are also Hindu. I am also fasting. I am also going to temples. I am also doing this. I am also doing that. I am also doing part. I am also doing Vratam. I am a Janyudhari Brahmin. So everybody wants to get out, which means that the entire narrative of this country has undergone a fundamental transformation. It is no small thing. And this is completely against the grain of our core values that shaped our freedom movement and our constitution. Our constitution is not just, people have heard some secularism, democracy, liberalism, tolerance somewhere and then no. Because they were organic to the long drawn freedom movement of this country. There were so many strands, they all clashed. And the best, the universal and the loftiest ideals have come to the surface and they inform the making of our constitution. And those core values are today stand undermined and compromised and are still being under attack. Now that comes to your universities, that comes to your hijab, that comes to everything. When it comes to universities, I tell you what, there is some kind of a belief, Purna, that if students have some kind of a political consciousness, they won't study. But that's not right. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the university that I studied, which is Jawaharlal Nehru University, it has produced a Nobel laureate. Abhijit Banerjee was our contemporary. And if you want to know something closer home, our university has produced 2 cabinet ministers. Today, the present government, 2 cabinet ministers holding very important positions. Where did they come from? They came from Jawaharlal Nehru University. So that kind of a atmosphere has produced Nobel laureates. It has not spoiled the children. We were not spoiled. So this entire argument that if the university or a college, the students are exposed to ideas, exposed to democracy, exposed to discussion, exposed to the merits or the desirability of dissent, democratic discussion, then they'll be good for nothing. No, that doesn't happen. That never happened. Nowhere in the globe that kind of a thing has happened. In fact, the more democratic you are, the more dynamic the society is. Many more people are brought into the mainstream. Many more people are brought into the labor force. Many more people are brought into the skill stream. That is what happens. That is what is happening throughout the world. It might look very tempting in the short run to shut up everybody and say that we work. But you have seen many experiments like that, where people were not allowed to speak and only work. Those societies have really collapsed. They are nowhere to be seen today. They have become pieces and pieces. You have seen. I don't have to name those countries. I don't have to name those experiments. Any society which repressed had only collapsed. Societies with open minds, societies which talked, societies which debated, societies which liberated, societies which fought for rights. Everywhere in the world throughout the history, productive forces which improved the skills, forces which improved the conditions, human conditions, have been released after democratic revolutions, not under dictatorship, not under suppression, not under oppression. So, what is the fight? The fight is between two kinds of thought process. One is those who think that India belongs to only one particular type of people. Those who worship this, those who wear this kind of a dress, those who eat this, they own this country. All others will have to accept their domination and live under them. That is one. The other is that this country has many types of people. All of them are equal. All of them have equal right on the country. All of them should be respected. Their diversity has to be accepted. Not just tolerated, accepted. And we should all travel together. Citizenship is defined by your adherence to these ideals of tolerance, these ideals of democracy, diversity, liberalism is one. The other one is, look, come what may, this is our thing, we own it. So these are the two things. We need to choose between these two. Which way do we want to go? I think this is the question. Ultimately, it all boils down to this.
Thank you so much. I guess with that, we can take a few questions from the audience. Maybe we'll take 3-4 just like we did right now. Mike, pass my thing, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ತಮ್ಮ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು.
ನಾನು ಸೈಯದ್ ಶಫೀವುಲ್ಲಾ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ ಅಂತ. Sir, I am Syed Shafeeullah Sahib. For past 25 years I was in a political party. You were mentioning just now that two political parties are mentioning that I am secular or this, that, and that. I was in JDS. I have resigned in September 21st when my elders went to meet Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah. And I am an activist, worked for past 30 years, fighting for the causes of everything going forward. When I meet people in general population, most of the people I found that they know very well the central government is presenting something to the public and creating illusion, and they are very clear, most of them. But still, most of them who think they have been hoaxed, they still think that, okay, let him be there and let him come, he seems to be good. And that's how the government is getting support, even from the people who know it very well. The second thing what it voiced is, in every planning, whether it is against the country, against the population, against the general labor class or downtrodden, against the rich, against minorities, and against the farmers, everybody knows that it is against them. And as you have mentioned, the bill was taken without any intention. Taken that after harassing the farmers for 1 year or more, and more than 700 deaths, still there is no thought, and everybody knows it. But still they get a lot of support, and they have been succeeding in every move. I think you may throw light on that.
But they didn't succeed in your state.
Pardon?
They didn't succeed in your state.
They did not succeed in your state.
It's just one place, sir, but they have been successful in most of the places. And in my state also, I think it's just one time, and we don't know tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'll take after 2 or 3.
Youngsters.
I'll
Hello. Sir, my name is Prakash Monekar. I've been following you for a long time. I have just two human questions. One, has the CBI, ED and the rest of the people reached your doors yet? And how is the harmony at home?
ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಅದರ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಟ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಪ್ರಭಾಕರ್ ಸರ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಟ್ರೈನ್ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಇಕಾನಮಿಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಟು ದ್ಯಾಟ್.
My name is Matthew. We were talking about illusion. I wanted to understand your views on the numbers that are being floated on our country growth last 2 quarters. Because there are objections coming from the previous governor, RJ governor, and other illustrious economists actually. Very simple.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಸರ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬೇಕು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡು.
ಗಂಗಾಧರ್.
Hello, hi. My name is Rajendra Narayan, and I have two very short questions. One is, can we work out the economic cost of Hindutva? As in, for every rupee that is spent for Hindutva type things, what is the money that we are losing on social security and on real issues? The second thing is, you were talking about the illusion and reality, and one of the things that many of us may be confronting in our work is how do we deal with counterfactuals? And I'll give you a very concrete example. Soon after the migrant worker crisis, I was in Bihar and I was campaigning for a friend of mine who stood for elections there. He has built a fantastic labor organization and so on. And while I was campaigning, one of the places where I was trying to talk to the people in the constituency, they said that when I asked them that इतने लोग मर गए, इतने लोगों को परेशानी हुई बिहार में आपके राज्य से, and his response was, had it been Congress, it would have been double. Now, how do we deal with counterfactual communication with the common public?
Hello, my name is Bharat. This is a more contemporary question. So, I'd first like to point out that what happened in Ayodhya was absolutely wrong. We see a select few people saying things like the temple, an incomplete temple should not have been inaugurated, whereas the focus should actually have been on how the temple shouldn't even have been built there. So one thing is that how do you approach someone who thinks that the temple is right and everything? Like how do you approach a person? And the second thing is, have you approached someone and been successful in convincing them that what happened was wrong? That's my question.
ಓಕೆ, ಈ 5 ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಮೇ ಬಿ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೂ ಅನದರ್ ರೌಂಡ್, ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಫರ್ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್.
Yeah. Sir, I pass your questions because they're out of syllabus. But one question I can answer, there's always this threat. I received a lot of threats. To that extent, I will answer your question. Yeah. Sir, but before trying to answer these questions, I must tell you this, that I don't have answers to all these questions. Just because I'm sitting here, don't think that, I have a lot of wisdom, knowledge, I can answer any question. Just take that out of your minds. What I'll do is, I'll try to blabber something in response to whatever you've asked. There might be some sense in it. Pick that up. Sir, election is not the outcome of campaign. Campaign plays an important role but a limited role. Election is an outcome of a multiple number of factors. Economy plays role, culture plays role, society, sociological moorings plays role, cultural and spiritual and caste and family and all these things play a role. What has happened over the last so many years, maybe decades, is that almost all political parties and a lot of influential individuals in this country have become complacent that India is now settled for a fight between slightly left of center and slightly right of center. There is no danger of a far right fundamental Hindu or Hindutva majoritarian narrative at all. That there is no danger of that. That is the reason why, with the very few honorable exceptions, every political formation in this country at one point of time or the other, directly or indirectly, has done business with this particular group. It could be DMK, it could be National Conference, it could be JDU, it could be JDS, it could be DMK, anybody, everybody, somehow or the other, directly or indirectly, they have done business with this and they have all lent legitimacy to that. Now suddenly they are, when suddenly the actual agenda is now up and being implemented, you see, you have to be very fair. BJP has never ever made Article 370 a secret. Ram Mandir is no secret. They have been saying it, but you said, oh, they say like that, but they don't do it. And you supported them. You made them form the government. You joined the government. You supported them. Then today, what are you complaining about? See, that is the question. That is the point. That we have allowed this drift to take place for 4 decades, 3 decades, 2 decades, and suddenly we want everything to change in 2024. Everything, suddenly, in next 2 months, we should be changed. Why? How will you change it? You change it because you have been neglecting. All our political parties have been sleepwalking from one election to the other. After an election, they all go to sleep. Next election, again they wake up and start doing something. Therefore, Bharadwaj also, see, the point is this. If you ask me, forgive me if I offend anybody, but I am not in a position to trust political parties. I have a lot of faith in civil society organizations like this. Only they can do this. Only they can bring about the transformation. Only they can take the kind of poison that has gone into the minds of people. They can take it out. Because they are not looking for one election or the other. They are not looking for a couple of seats. They are not looking for a couple of berths in the central government. That is where organizations like these will have to engage in a long-term discussion, debate, But of course, how this entire transformation today, that every political party is saying that they are also a Hindu party. They are also Hindu, they respect Hinduism. Why? You don't have to declare whether you respect this or that. You don't have to declare that has not been a point of discussion in the political arena of our country for 4, 5, 6 decades. Why suddenly that is a point of discussion? Why everybody has to go through this, what is called a Sila Pariksha? Why? Because the kind of changes that have taken place in the civil society. And again, those changes will have to be undone at the civil society level. So, Bharadwaj, if you have to discuss. But you see, if you discuss with the intention of changing their voting behavior in the next election, next 2 years, 3 years, or 2 months, 1 month, forget about this. I'm not saying that it is inevitable. Nothing is inevitable in history. But you need to, it is like this. Communalism today has an army of people who are highly motivated, dedicated, capable, and willing to put in long hours of work without expecting anything in return, without expecting positions of power, getting elected, or becoming a minister, or an MLA, or an MP. There are people who are capable of working like that. Does secularism has an army? Does it have an army? It doesn't have. But you don't have an army. You don't have the willingness or the ability to put in work on it. But you want everything to go away. How will it go away? Why will it go away? The reason why an undesirable trend is thriving today is because of this. So this has to be undone. I'm sure not everybody will be able to do that, but at least some of us should be able to do that. We'll have to do that. And what we expect from people like you is some kind of a support in whatever way. If you can't support, just say, very well done, do it. This is what we need for India. At least that much. So that is the thing that is going to define India in the next few months, few years, and few decades. That probably takes care of a lot of questions that you've articulated and you have in your mind. Because this is a very huge agenda. Somebody asked me about the economic cost of Hinduism. You asked us. Hindutva. Sorry, not Hinduism. Sir, on this, I have a very unpopular view. I'll tell you, because I feel very secure. You won't do anything to me, even if you don't like what I am saying. It is this. What kind of a society I want? I want a society where, irrespective of the accident of my birth, I am treated with respect and dignity. Because I don't know how many of you have chosen to be born as a Hindu. I have not. When I opened my eyes, I didn't know. But after a while, I was told that I am a Hindu. Isn't it? Probably that is the case with most of you. Or did you choose? So, accident of birth should not determine your place in a civilized society. You're a human, you're a citizen. And by that alone are your rights decided, your obligations decided, your privileges are decided, your advantages are decided. Not on the basis of what language do you speak, what religion do you practice, and what region do you belong. These are not the criteria in a modern civilized society. This is the kind of society I want. And if somebody tells me that, coming to your question, if somebody tells me that doing away with this value system is economically very profitable, I still won't agree to that, or I still won't sign up for that. You get my point? So even if the Hindutva project is beneficial in some other economic way, still that is not a civilized way of conducting ourselves in a modern civilized society. But if you want me to tell you, I can say that any kind of a discriminatory society, any kind of an oppressive society will be economically also weak, will economically also be debilitating to the citizenry, therefore to the collective. So it is a very, very economically costly thing to a society if that society practices apartheid, racism, or caste oppression, or linguistic oppression, or geographical oppression, or religious oppression. It is economically costly, but civilizationally very, very dangerous. So that it all depends on your what is your value system. The value system, even if it is, we have to strive for what? Somebody, a very important minister in the government of India had said, what we have seen during the last 70 years is an aberration. Through long hundreds and thousands of years of history of this land, I want to tell that minister, you see, if you look at the long history of human, wearing clothes is also an aberration, very small, when did we start wearing clothes? You want to say that this is an aberration because it's only for last 100 years are the most progressive, because we have discovered a lot of things, we have moved ahead in a lot of things. We have understood the universe, we have understood the nature of things, the earth, the oceans, the life, everything. And we have conquered so many things. This is not an aberration, this is an advancement. So are you with the advancement, or do you want the entire humankind to go back to savannah, African savannah, and go back to hunter-gatherers, because that is the longest in our history. So it doesn't mean what is longest and what is shortest. What is the advance? So this is the advance. Antibiotics are an advance. Modern medical system is an advance. But if you say that modern medical system is only a few hundred years old, and this is a very small part of the entire human history, then you want to leave all this. No, it's not possible. It can't be. Even if it is 10-year-old, if it is advanced, it is an advance. We have to embrace that advance. So don't go by this weird logic of long history, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, which has absolutely no evidence except in some kind of a mythology.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there are some, we can take this last batch.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can take 3-4 more questions. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I wondered if you came across the Al Jazeera investigative report earlier. It said something along the lines of Mr. Subramanian, the NITI Aayog CEO, had pointed out that way back during Mr. Modi's before in the lead-up to Mr. Modi's first budget, he had tried to open up backdoor negotiations with the then chairman of the Finance Commission, Mr. Viva Reddy. The 14 Finance Commission's recommendation was that the state sharing taxes be 42%, and the 13th Finance Commission had recommended 32%. So Mr. Modi tried to bring it down from 42% to 33%, and it was regarded as a constitutional impropriety because he had no business doing that. So there's that, and almost a doubling of the cesses and surcharges since Mr. Modi took power, and it had gone up to 20.48% in 21-22 financial year. So there's that. What do you make of that as far as the state's tax devolution is concerned? Secondly, just briefly touching on the Places of Worship Act. Given the Ram Mandir constitution, where does it stop? Because they're saying, Kashi Matra Baki hai. So where do we go from there? These two questions. Thank you.
Maybe we take a couple more because
I think
ಸಮಯದ ಅಭಾವ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾವು
she raised her hand.
ಮುಂದೆ ಒಂದು ಮಹಿಳೆ ಕರೆಯುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ.
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಎಚ್.ಎಂ. ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅಂತ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಹೋರಾಟಗಾರರ ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ಭ್ರಮೆ ಮತ್ತು ವಾಸ್ತವ
She'll explain.
ಭ್ರಮೆನ NDA ಪಕ್ಷಗಳು ಭ್ರಮೆಯನ್ನು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಒಕ್ಕೂಟಗಳು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ವಾಸ್ತವನ ಹೇಳೋ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಎರಡರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಭ್ರಮೆ ಮತ್ತು ವಾಸ್ತವದ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ನಮ್ಮ ತೆರಿಗೆ ಹಣವನ್ನ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎರಡೂ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಲೂಟಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ತೆರಿಗೆಯನ್ನ ಮತ್ತು ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ, ಕರಪ್ಷನ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಇದಾಗಿದೆ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಯಾರನ್ನ ನಂಬಿ ಓಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ ಅವರೇ ಕೂಡ ಕರಪ್ಷನ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕನ್ನಡದ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆ, ಅಕ್ಕಿ ತಿನ್ನೋರು ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಭತ್ತ ತಿನ್ನೋರು ಬಂದ್ರು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಈ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಭ್ರಮೆ ಮತ್ತು ವಾಸ್ತವದ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಬದುಕೋದು ಹೇಗೆ?
I just quickly translated so between the illusion and the reality, when the union government is trying to create an illusion and other federal structures are trying to push the reality into mainstream discourses, there is also a huge theft of tax money and there is a big question of corruption. So as common people, we are caught between this illusion and the reality that we are finding ourselves in the midst of. How do we, what's the way forward and how do we build from there? Sir, will you lay your
Sir, my name is Swati and I am studying journalism, so all the things that we are discussing on a day. So my question is, it is totally economical. I think there has been a lot of debates on one nation, one poll. And while there are debates within the committee for it, I think there is polarization of the views with regards to how the committee is formed. That's for later. The question is, what do you think is the economical impact that the country is going to face, and whether that economical impact is more important than the democratical impact for the country, because that is going to break down the federal system for India.
Thank you. Sir, can you close the
Hi, sir. Preamble of our Indian Constitution envisages a socialist nation. After 75 years, 1% of the population holds 40% of our national wealth, and 10% hold approximately 85% of the national wealth, in which none of us belong. So, what is the alternative economy system you propose?
Thank you, sir.
The illusions are said to be planned by the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, as psychological operations. So, because for establishing the Arctic Roman Aryan supremacy for British. So, what is your thought about the illusion of EVM, VVPAT, one nation, one election, demonetization, digital banking, and climate change?
So, actually, Prabhakar sir is asked to close.
One last question. With regards to the sustainable life of rural India. Earlier government did lot of things to ensure at least the poverty people and making their life better. But this government has no such plans or no such programs to improvise the rural India or the people. That is what the question is, sir, how to improvise the life of a person who has got nothing in his pocket, and how this government has got some plans to improvise his life, sir, in any of the programs which they have introduced.
ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಶಾರ್ಪ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್. ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಐ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೈ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್, ಐ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನೋ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ 3-4 ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್. ಬೇಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ನಾವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. 3 ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಬೇಕು, ಯಾಕೆ ಓದಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನನಗೂ ಬಂತು. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವಂಡರಿಂಗ್ ವೆನ್ I started reading the book, why this book is important, because there are many themes that have already been written about, spoken about in great depth. 2 ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಗಿಂತ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಓದಬೇಕು ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತು. Firstly, as I was listening to Prabhakar sir, I remembered, that we've forgotten so many things that have happened, even something as early as 10 months ago. Manipur ಬಗ್ಗೆ we have forgotten, COVID we have forgotten. So it's also, resistance is also in building collective memory. ಏನು ನಡೆದಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಮರೆತು ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗೋದಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದಿನ ಏನು ಹೋರಾಟಗಳಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಇದರ ಬಲದ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ತುಂಬ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ I see this book as one such attempt to keep our collective memories alive, and this documentation is very important for that resistance. And secondly, in Puska, what it does is it lays bare India's, compromised state when it comes to its data integrity. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಮುಂಚೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಆಳ